Commander Lisa Grant stood in chains before the Council of Allied Worlds. Her black uniform had no badges left on it. The metal chains around her wrists felt cold and heavy. The big room was full of important people, who all stared at her with angry faces. The charges against her were serious. She had disobeyed direct orders. She had attacked a ship without permission. She had destroyed a diplomatic vessel from the Centauri Empire. But what the Council would not say was that the ship was carrying weapons to arm slave traders in the far systems. "Commander Grant," said Council Chairman Victor Kane. His voice was loud and filled the whole marble room. "You have broken every rule that keeps peace between our species. Your actions almost started a war between the stars." Lisa kept her head up high. Even though she was beaten, she would not look down. "Those weapons would have killed thousands of innocent people. I would do it again tomorrow." People in the watching area began to whisper loudly. Her old crew members sat in the high seats above. Captain Paul Davis of the destroyer ship Valiant could only watch. He could not help her now. Chief Engineer Amy Collins had tears running down her face as she waited to hear what would happen to Lisa. "Exile to planet Kepler 442b, Kane said with a cold voice. "A world where humans can live, but no intelligent life exists. No technology, no way to escape. You will get basic supplies to stay alive and nothing else. Maybe being alone will teach you to follow orders." The planet they picked was perfect for what they wanted. It had good air to breathe and nice weather. It had plenty of water and was not too hot or cold. But no smart creatures had ever lived there. This made it the best place to put their most dangerous prisoner. They would drop her off with a small shelter that was already built, some basic tools, seeds to grow food and medical supplies. Just enough to keep her alive, but no more. 3 days later, Lisa found herself strapped into a transport ship heading toward the unknown world. The journey took 2 weeks through hyperspace. During those long days, she was kept in a small cell with only basic food and water. The guards would not talk to her. She spent the time thinking about what had led her to this moment. Lisa had joined the Earth Military Academy when she was 18 years old. She was smart and worked hard. She became an officer at 22 and commanded her first ship at 30. For 15 years, she had served with honor. She had saved civilian ships from pirates. She had delivered medicine to plague worlds. She had always tried to do what was right. But things had changed in the Council. New leaders had come to power, who cared more about money and politics than protecting innocent people. They made deals with criminals. They ignored suffering if it was profitable. Lisa had watched good officers get pushed out for asking too many questions. The final moment came when intelligence reports showed that a Centauri diplomatic ship was secretly carrying advanced weapons to slave traders in the Outer Rim territories. These weapons could destroy entire cities. The Council knew about it but chose to look the other way because they did not want to upset their trade agreements with the Centauri Empire. Lisa could not stand by and watch. She took her ship and a small crew of volunteers. They intercepted the Centauri vessel and demanded to search it. When the Centaurians refused and opened fire, Lisa destroyed the ship. Inside the wreckage, they found proof: enough plasma cannons and missile systems to arm 50 pirate ships. But instead of thanking her, the Council arrested Lisa for starting an incident that could lead to war. They said she had acted without orders. They said she had put politics above peace. They would not listen when she showed them the evidence of what the ship was really carrying. Now, as the transport ship dropped out of hyperspace, Lisa could see her new home through the small window in her cell. The planet was beautiful. Blue oceans covered most of it with large green and brown continents. White clouds swirled in patterns across the surface. 3 small moons hung in the black space around it. The ship entered the atmosphere with a roar. Lisa felt the heat and shaking as they passed through the air. Soon she could see mountains and forests and wide grasslands. Purple trees that she had never seen before grew in thick groups. Rivers wound like silver ribbons through valleys. They landed in a flat area near a river. The guards unlocked her cell and pushed her outside. The air smelled clean and fresh. It was warm but not too hot. A gentle wind blew across the grassland. "This is where you stay," said the guard captain. "Forever." They unloaded her supplies. A pre-built shelter the size of a small room, basic tools like a hammer and saw, seeds for vegetables and grain, medical supplies, and some preserved food to last a few weeks. They also gave her a tablet computer with information about the planet and survival guides, but it had no communication abilities. The shelter has solar power for lights and basic systems, the captain explained. The tablet will help you identify safe plants and animals. After that, you are on your own. Lisa watched as the guards got back in their ship. The engines roared to life and the vessel lifted off. It climbed higher and higher until it was just a small dot in the sky. Then it was gone. She stood alone on the hill looking out over vast grasslands with strange purple trees. In the distance, mountain ranges stretched toward the 3 moons that hung in the afternoon sky. The only sounds were wind through the grass and the distant call of some unknown bird. Lisa shouldered her pack of supplies and began walking toward the forest. If the council wanted her isolated and forgotten, she would use that isolation to become something they never expected. They thought they had ended her ability to fight corruption and protect innocent people. Instead, they had given her something she had never had before, complete freedom to build something new. As she walked toward the purple trees, Lisa Grant began to plan. She was 45 years old, in good health, and had the knowledge of a lifetime spent in military service and engineering. This planet had everything she needed to survive. But survival was not enough. She would do more than just live on this world. She would make it into something that would change the galaxy forever. 3 years had passed on the world Lisa had named Haven. She had done much more than just survive. She had built something amazing. The small shelter they had given her was now the center of a real home. Lisa had used stones from the river to build strong walls. She had learned to weave grass and mix mud to make bricks. The little building had grown into a house with 3 rooms, a kitchen, and even a workshop. But the most important discovery came in her 2nd month on Haven. While exploring caves in the nearby hills, Lisa found something incredible. Strange crystals grew from the cave walls. They were clear like glass but had a soft blue glow. When the 3 moons rose at night, the crystals became brighter. They gave off energy. Lisa had studied engineering before joining the military. She knew about power systems and how to build things. These crystals could generate electricity just from moonlight. It was unlike anything she had ever seen. She spent weeks carefully removing small crystals from the caves. She tested them in different ways. She discovered that the crystals could power simple machines when arranged in the right patterns. Soon she had electric lights in her house. Then she built a small motor that could run tools. The breakthrough with the crystals changed everything. Lisa took apart pieces from the transport ship's landing pod. She combined the metal and electronics with the crystal technology. Slowly, she built more complex machines. By the end of her 1st year, Lisa had running water pumped from the river. She had a mill powered by crystals that could grind grain. She had tools that made building easier. Her small garden had become fields of vegetables and grain that fed her well. But Lisa was not happy just living comfortably. Every night after her work was done, she sat at a wooden table and made plans. She drew designs for bigger machines. She wrote notes about what she wanted to build next. The council thought they had stopped her by putting her on this empty planet. They were wrong. The most important project began in her 2nd year. Lisa wanted to build a communication device. She had electronics from the landing pod and the powerful crystals from the caves. It took months of careful work, but she finally succeeded. The quantum communicator was small and crude, but it worked. The signal was weak and could only reach nearby star systems, but that was enough. Lisa typed her first message carefully. It was going to Captain Paul Davis aboard the destroyer Valiant. "Paul, this is Lisa. I am alive and I have something important to tell you." She waited 6 hours for an answer. When it came, she could almost hear the shock in Paul's voice. "Lisa, we thought you were dead. The council told us the planet could not support human life." Lisa smiled as she typed back. "The planet is perfect for humans. It has everything we need and more. Tell me, how many good officers have they forced out since my trial?" Paul's answer came quickly. "Too many to count. The corruption is worse. Now, they only promote people who will not ask questions. Half the fleet wants to rebel but has nowhere to go. This was exactly what Lisa had hoped to hear. She began typing a longer message. Paul, I have been building something here. This planet has resources the Council does not know about. I can make technology they have never seen. But I need help. I need people who still believe in doing what is right. Over the next few months, Lisa exchanged messages with Paul and other officers they both trusted. She learned that things in the galaxy had gotten much worse since her exile. The Council was now openly working with criminal organizations. They ignored pirate attacks on civilian ships. They let slavery continue because it was profitable. Many good people in the military were disgusted, but felt powerless. Some had been forced to retire. Others had been transferred to unimportant posts where they could not cause trouble. A few had been arrested on false charges. Lisa began to see her opportunity. The Council had made a huge mistake. They thought exile would silence her forever. Instead, they had given her time to build and plan. They had given her a base that no one remembered existed. Most importantly, they had created an army of allies by treating good people so badly. In her third year on Haven, Lisa expanded her communication network. She built more powerful transmitters using larger crystals. She could now reach star systems across a quarter of the galaxy. She began sending careful messages to officers she had served with over the years. The messages were simple. This is Lisa Grant. I am alive and safe. If you are tired of corruption and want to fight for what is right, I may have a solution. Are you interested? The responses amazed her. Within 6 months, she was in contact with over 200 former military officers, government workers, and civilians who had been pushed out for refusing to go along with corruption. They came from dozens of different worlds and species. Lisa began to make bigger plans. Haven had enough space for thousands of people. The crystal technology could power a real city. The planet had metals, good soil, and clean water. It could support a large population. But more than that, Haven could become something the galaxy had never seen. A place where people could live free from the corruption that was destroying the Council worlds. A place where leaders were chosen for their wisdom and honesty, not their willingness to ignore crimes. Lisa worked harder than ever. She expanded her house into a compound with workshops, laboratories, and guest quarters. She built landing pads for ships. She stockpiled supplies and equipment. The exile that was meant to end her career was about to begin her greatest achievement. The first ship arrived on a cold morning 6 months later. Lisa was working in her crystal laboratory when she heard the roar of engines overhead. She ran outside and looked up to see a battered cargo freighter descending through the clouds. Her heart raced with excitement and fear. Either help had finally come or the Council had found her. The ship landed on the flat area where Lisa had first touched down 3 years ago. The engines went quiet, and a cargo ramp lowered with a mechanical whine. A tall man in civilian clothes walked down the ramp. He looked around nervously at the strange purple trees and the 3 moons visible in the daylight sky. "Commander Grant?" he called out. Lisa stepped forward, her hand near the weapon she always carried now. "I am Lisa Grant. Who are you?" The man smiled with relief. "Jake Murphy, former lieutenant in the Council Navy. You probably do not remember me, but I served under Captain Davis 5 years ago. He said you might have a place for people like us." Lisa remembered Jake now. He had been a good officer with a strong sense of right and wrong. "What happened to you, Jake?" "They discharged me for refusing to transport slave workers to the mining colonies. Said I was not reliable." Jake looked around at Lisa's compound with amazement. "Paul told me you were building something here, but I never imagined this." Over the next few hours, Jake told Lisa his story. After losing his commission, he had bought an old freighter and tried to make an honest living hauling cargo. But the corruption in the shipping industry made it almost impossible for independent operators to survive. Criminal organizations controlled most of the trade routes. The Council looked the other way as long as they got their bribes. "There are dozens of us out here," Jake explained. Good people who got pushed out for having principles. We have been looking for somewhere to go, something to be part of. Lisa showed Jake around Haven. She explained the crystal technology and demonstrated some of her inventions. Jake was impressed by everything he saw, but what impressed him most was Lisa's vision for the future. This could be more than just a hiding place, Lisa told him as they stood on the hill overlooking her growing settlement. This could be proof that there is a better way to live, a place where people are judged by their character, not their willingness to ignore crimes. Jake became the first permanent resident of Haven besides Lisa. He was followed by others over the next few months. Commander Beth Parker arrived in a small scout ship. She had been forced out of the military for investigating war profiteering by council officials. Major Chris Taylor came in a converted fighter. He had been court-martialed for evacuating civilians from a planet the council had written off as acceptable losses. Dr. Helen Ross brought her entire research team in a converted hospital ship. Her medical license had been revoked for treating refugees that the government wanted to let die. But her knowledge of medicine and biology made her invaluable on Haven. Each new arrival brought skills, equipment, and most importantly, hope. The settlement grew quickly from Lisa's original compound. They built new houses using the crystal technology for power. They established workshops and laboratories. They cleared more land for farming and set up manufacturing facilities. But Haven was more than just a collection of refugees. Under Lisa's leadership, they created something new. Every major decision was discussed openly in town meetings. Everyone had a voice, regardless of their background or species. Leadership positions were filled by election, and leaders had to prove their worth through their actions. Lisa had learned from the mistakes of the council. She made sure that no one person had too much power. She created systems to prevent corruption and ensure that the needs of all citizens were considered. Most importantly, she established the principle that Haven existed to serve its people, not the other way around. The community attracted not just humans. Word spread through underground networks to other species who had been oppressed by the council. A group of Centauri engineers arrived, fleeing persecution for refusing to build weapons for slave traders. A family of Rigelian farmers came seeking a place where they could practice their traditional agriculture without interference from corporate interests. By the end of Lisa's 4th year on Haven, nearly 2,000 people called the planet home. The original settlement had grown into New Haven City, spreading out from the river valley in carefully planned districts. They had their own school, hospital, and research centers. The crystal technology had been refined to provide clean energy for advanced manufacturing. But the growth brought new challenges. Captain Paul Davis arrived in his 5th year with troubling news. He had been forced to resign his commission after asking too many questions about missing supplies and unauthorized military operations. The council has noticed that ships and people are disappearing, Paul reported at the weekly town meeting. They are starting to investigate the Outer Rim territories more carefully. Some of my former colleagues are asking questions about unusual hyperspace signatures. Lisa stood before the assembled crowd in the newly built community center. Through the large windows, she could see the lights of the growing city and the busy spaceport where ships came and went freely. Then we have a choice to make, she said. We can try to stay hidden and hope they never find us, or we can step into the light and show the galaxy that there is an alternative to council rule. Jake Murphy, now the elected head of the city planning committee, raised his hand. What exactly are you proposing, Lisa? I am proposing that we stop pretending to be refugees hiding from the law. We have built something amazing here. We have proven that people can govern themselves fairly and efficiently. We have technology that could benefit everyone. Maybe it is time to share what we have learned. Dr. Ross stood up from her seat near the front. You are talking about declaring independence. That means the council will see us as rebels. They already see us as criminals, replied Commander Parker. At least this way we control the message. The debate continued for hours. Some people were afraid of attracting council attention. Others argued that Haven was already too big to hide forever. Lisa listened to all the arguments before speaking again. I was exiled here because I would not compromise my principles, she said. All of you came here for the same reason. We have built something beautiful because we refused to accept that corruption and injustice were normal. Now we have to decide whether we believe in what we have built enough to defend it. The vote was not unanimous, but it was clear. Haven would reveal itself to the galaxy, not as a rebel colony or pirate base, but as a free and independent world, offering an example of what good government could accomplish. The preparation began immediately. They would need to be ready for whatever response the council chose to make. Lisa stood in the newly built assembly hall, looking out at the representatives of New Haven. The building was made from local stone and crystal technology, with tall windows that showed the city lights twinkling under the 3 moons. Outside, the spaceport glowed with activity as ships came and went freely. On the wooden podium before her lay the most important document in Haven's history, the Declaration of Independence for the Free World of Haven. It had taken 3 months to write. Every citizen had contributed ideas. The document was simple but powerful. We, the citizens of Haven, having been cast out by those who value obedience over justice, do hereby establish ourselves as a free and sovereign world. We reject the authority of any government that rules through fear and corruption. We open our doors to all who seek freedom, justice, and the opportunity to build something better. But the declaration was more than just words. Lisa and her team had prepared proof of what Haven had accomplished. The quantum communication network her engineers had built now reached across half the galaxy. They would broadcast not propaganda but simple truth. Images of the thriving city, testimonials from people who had found new lives, and technical information about crystal technology. They were willing to share freely with any world that chose democracy over corruption. Dr. Helen Ross had prepared medical research that could help millions of people. The crystal technology could provide clean energy to planets that had been poisoned by industrial pollution. Jake Murphy had designed new ship engines that were faster and more efficient than anything the Council used. All of this would be shared freely with anyone who wanted it. "Are we ready?" Lisa asked the assembled Council members. Commander Beth Parker, now the elected head of security, nodded. "Our defense grid is operational. We have 49 ships ready for combat, all with crystal upgrades. Our shields can protect the city from orbital bombardment." Major Chris Taylor, who had become the military coordinator, added, "More importantly, we have allies now. 17 other worlds have secretly agreed to support us if the Council attacks. They are tired of corruption too." Lisa took a deep breath. In a few hours, the message would go out across the galaxy. Everything they had built would be revealed. The Council would learn that the woman they had exiled was not only alive, but had created something that challenged everything they stood for. The transmission began at noon. Within hours, responses started coming in from across the galaxy. Some were messages of support from oppressed populations who saw Haven as a symbol of hope. Others were threats from Council loyalists who called them traitors and rebels. But the most important response came 3 days later. A massive Council fleet appeared at the edge of the Haven system. Admiral Kane, son of the former Council chairman, commanded 30 of the Council's most powerful warships. His message was broadcast to the entire planet. "Citizens of the illegal colony on Kepler 442b, you are harboring a convicted criminal and operating outside Council authority. You have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally, or we will take the planet by force." Lisa stood on the bridge of her flagship, a converted cargo vessel that Jake Murphy had transformed into a formidable warship using crystal technology. Around her, the bridge crew worked calmly at their stations. These were people who had served with her before, who trusted her judgment completely. "Admiral Kane," Lisa replied on an open channel. "This is President Lisa Grant of the Free World of Haven. We are not an illegal colony. We are a sovereign world that has chosen to govern itself. You have no authority here." Kane's response was angry and immediate. "You are a convicted traitor, Grant. These people you have deceived will be given a chance to surrender. You will not." "Then come and take us," Lisa said calmly. "But know that you are not fighting criminals or rebels. You are attacking people who believe in freedom and justice. The galaxy is watching." The Battle of Haven began at dawn. Kane's fleet moved in expecting an easy victory against a ragtag group of refugees. What they found was something they had never faced before. Haven's ships, powered by crystal technology, were faster and more maneuverable than anything in the Council fleet. The crystal energy systems could recharge weapons and shields much faster than traditional power sources. But more than that, Haven's crews fought with a determination that came from defending something they had built with their own hands. Lisa commanded the battle from the bridge of her flagship, coordinating attacks and defensive movements. Her years of military experience served her well, but it was the advanced technology and the passion of her people that made the difference. The crystal-powered ships danced around the heavier council vessels, striking fast and disappearing before return fire could be effective. Haven's defensive grid, powered by massive crystal arrays, protected the planet from orbital bombardment attempts. After 4 hours of fighting, half the council fleet was disabled or destroyed. Admiral Kane's flagship was drifting powerless, its weapon systems offline and life support failing. But Lisa had planned for more than just military victory. As each council ship was disabled, Haven vessels moved in to offer aid. Instead of destroying defeated enemies, they rescued crews and offered medical treatment to the wounded. "Attention Council Fleet," Lisa broadcast. "Your ships are disabled, but your people are safe. We offer you a choice. You can return to a system that will blame you for this defeat, or you can stay and help us build something better. We judge people by their actions, not their past mistakes." The response amazed everyone. 2/3 of the Council fleet crews chose to defect. They had seen their own leadership sacrifice them in an impossible battle against superior technology and tactics. They had also seen their enemies show mercy and offer them a new chance. Admiral Kane, his flagship's system slowly being repaired by Haven engineers, received a personal message from Lisa. "Admiral, your father exiled me here thinking he was ending my ability to oppose corruption. Instead, he gave me the opportunity to build something better. Your fleet is defeated, but your crews are safe. You can return to the Council and report that Haven is now a free world under the protection of people who remember what honor means. Or you can stay and help us build a galaxy worth living in." Kane chose to return, but with only a handful of ships and crews. Most of his fleet remained at Haven, not as prisoners, but as new citizens who had seen a better way of life. Within 6 months, the victory at Haven had inspired rebellions on dozens of Council worlds. The crystal technology that Lisa freely shared gave rebel groups the tools they needed to fight back against corruption. The Council of Allied Worlds, facing mass defections and losing control of their member planets, was forced to agree to major reforms. Representatives from 47 worlds attended the first Galactic Democratic Congress on Haven. Lisa Grant, the exiled commander who had become the first elected president of Haven, delivered the opening address to delegates from across known space. "They exiled me here thinking they were ending a problem," she said, standing beneath Haven's new flag. The flag showed a field of stars surrounding a crystal that glowed with its own inner light. "Instead, they gave me the chance to plant a seed. That seed has grown into something they never imagined. Proof that people can govern themselves, that technology can serve freedom instead of oppression, and that even in exile, someone who refuses to compromise their principles can change the galaxy." The flag of Haven now flies on 93 worlds. Each one is a testament to the power of principled leadership and the courage to build something better from nothing. The woman they tried to silence by abandoning her on an empty planet had given that planet, and the galaxy, a new voice in the chorus of freedom.